Okay, we're recording, so I can
If
officially.
if a
Yep,
bunch of people don't show up, if it's just you and me, then it's quite likely we'll have 5 or 10 minutes just to catch up, find out where
totally.
I am, where I want to go, and then we'll let you go.
Totally. That sounds great. So let me just say officially welcome to my Ask Me Anything Live. What is today? December 14th. I do have a couple questions that people emailed in that I could answer first, and that way I get that done. So let's see. There was a gal out of Canada who wanted to ask about using templates for her website. She's, I think getting into the health coaching. I'm not sure if it's nutrition, but the health coaching space, launching her business. So it's a great question. It's one that I get very often. If you're watching the recording, time to take notes. There are some reasons why those template sites, I mean, obviously you're going to get a biased opinion because I'm an attorney, right? So you're going to hear why I don't think that they work. And that's because in my opinion, when a template, it's the same as the big box stores like LegalZoom or Rocket Lawyer, some of those. When a template is tailored to the world at large, it's not tailored for your business. And the thing that I care about, so the whole reason behind the Legal Website Warrior was I knew I could create a set of resources and document templates that were very specific to a specific niche in the small business world. And so what I've done is created a whole bunch of documents that are tailored to what I call information entrepreneurs. Coaches, consultants, online educators and experts, speakers and authors, right? People who their business is primarily based around running an online business. They've got offline services as well, but it's very information heavy. Their services, their offerings are all primarily based around a body of work, around somebody's information. So the template sites, while and, truthfully, I can't even speak to them in general because without looking at the specific language, without examining, does it fit for your specific business, it's really hard to say that they would be anywhere near adequate. That said, I have looked at many that are not adequate. I have people all the time that say, oh, well, will you help me with my client services agreement? While you're at it, take a quick look at my online documentation. And I look, and they have no idea what the language says. I walk them through it. I let them know. There was one gal who was based in Florida. The document template said you're going to litigate any disputes in California, right? There are a lot of clauses that have to be specific to your business in the online space, specific to your information, specific disclaimers that are related to your unique work, right? Those are not going to be built into template forms. So that's my 2 cents. You have to be very, very cautious. You have to know what you're doing. You have to be able to analyze those templates from the standpoint of, is this legally sufficient for my business? Most lay people, most consumers cannot answer that question. So I wanted to get that out there. If you have any questions about what it takes to protect a website, I'll refer you to some previous Ask Me Anything lives. I've answered this question a gazillion times on this call. I've been live every Monday at this time this year since COVID hit, except for a couple holidays. So we've gone over this a lot, but the core basics, and Brian knows this because he's been through some website protection stuff with me, but the core basics are that you have website terms and conditions, which are your ground rules. Let people know what are the rules of the road when they're visiting your website. You've got a privacy policy, which protects your data collection, your information collection, your database, right? Privacy policies required by law wherever you are in the world. And then terms of purchase for anything that you're selling, right? This is what covers that exchange of value when you sell your services, sell a program or a course or offering. And then you may have some additional disclaimers that you need. So for example, if you are B2B and you're talking about wealth and financial resources or increasing earnings or income or sales, right? All of that is money related. You need an earnings and income disclaimer. And the FTC likes to see that posted separately in its own link on your site. Finally, if you participate as an affiliate in somebody else's program, or you have an affiliate program of your own, then you want affiliate terms in place. You want your own affiliate program agreement, and you want to make sure that if you're sharing links to other business offerings, you disclose that you're doing that as an affiliate. Those disclosures are really paramount. It's called Truth in Advertising. It's the difference, like everybody remembers, even 15 years ago, the mom blogs exploding, right? Moms all over started blogs and started sharing information and resources. I mean, as moms, we're the consumers in the marketplace for most household goods, for most things, period. And so, but the thing that happened is that, if you're sharing a review of a product and you put a link, if there's any relationship behind the scenes, so if you're getting paid for that, which is happening right through an affiliate relationship, if it's a friend of yours, like let's say you have a friend that launches a company and asks you to write a review. I recently had a client whose mom provided a testimonial on his site. You have to disclose that stuff. That all gets to truth in advertising laws, because if there's a relationship behind the scenes in regards to a relationship, in regards to a business offering, a product that you're promoting, anything, you need to disclose that. So that's kind of the basics for website protection, at least in the space that I serve. There's some additional things if you get into software, if you're hosting a platform that allows other people to post content, right? There's some other issues you get into, but those are the basics. Now, feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions, because through the end of this year, I am offering my access to my website protection package workshop, which is what Brian went through. I think you went through the first one this year, Brian. And that is, or the end of last year. Has it already been since the end of last year? That I provided a tremendous discount as a way to help people get their businesses online, get their online protection in place. And so message me, just email me. You can email me at heather@legalwebsitewarrior.com if you're interested in more information about that workshop. Okay. So that was question number 1. There's one more question that I want to answer, and then we're going to move over to see if Brian or Arlene, welcome Arlene, if you've got questions, and I'm going to open the chat as well, just in case anybody else joins us. Welcome to Elaine. I'm going to open the chat. So one other question that I want to be sure to answer that I got via email is about independent contractors. And it's a really good question. It's and there's actually 2 versions of this question. Can I be paid? So it's from the individual standpoint. Can I be paid both as an employee and an independent contractor, receive a W-9, right? So the answer is yes, but let's break that down a little bit. If you are an employee for a certain company, right, doing some function inside their business, what you are receiving an independent contractor payment, like a W-9 for, has to be different, right? It has to be your own service, your own offering that you are providing, preferably through your own business, because independent contractors are truly independent. They usually have their own employer identification number, right? They've got their own business set up, etc. So it's uncommon for somebody to be paid that way, but it happens, right? Plenty of people have side gigs, or they're starting their own business on the side, so it's definitely a possibility. Now, the other question is, can I pay, if you're a company, if you're a business, can I pay an employee both as an employee and an independent contractor, right? Same answer, different twist on it, because as a company, right, the same evaluation. Are they providing a service as an employee that's separate and apart from, very distinct from what they're doing as an independent contractor? And if they are providing, so let's say you have an employee who's your receptionist or customer support, right? But on the side, she runs a catering business, right? And you have a company event and you need it catered. yes, she could be functioning as an independent contractor in that capacity if you hire her business to cater your event, right? And in that instance, she would be getting paid as an independent contractor, not an employee. But the same evaluation that the IRS goes through, that state regulatory bodies go through when they evaluate, is somebody an independent contractor or are they an employee? Is the same, right? You still have to meet the criteria, and that generally has to do with control. Are you controlling their work, right? Are you controlling their tools? Are you controlling when they show up and how they do things? Or, there's a whole list of things that you have to walk through, but independent contractors, just remember, are truly independent. They are the pro when it comes to the thing that they're offering, right? So just like if I were to hire a website designer to update or redo my website, like, I don't do website design. They're the pro. I'm not telling them how to do their work. While I might be providing input on what I want and some, creative ideas or direction around certain things, I'm not controlling their work. Same thing, right? If you are a company that is hiring independent contractors, you cannot be in control of their work, their hours, their tools, the platform that they use if it's an online worker. So just be very, very cautious of that. And the other thing that really helps in those scenarios is that the independent contractor has their own business set up, their own EIN, which is an employer identification number. Sometimes it's called FEIN. And that truly makes them, it makes it much more substantial when the IRS or a government agency is evaluating that scenario, that business is truly independent, and especially if they provide that service to other clients, right? So I've had certain clients or potential clients ask me like, well, I'm setting up a whole sales team. I want to train them on sales. I want them to primarily be doing the bulk of the work that they have to do for my company because I anticipate that I'll be keeping them really busy. And I've said, look, that's not independent. If you're training them how to do their job, you're giving them the platform, the tools, the resources, you're prescribing what hours they're going to show up and work for you, right? And then you are basically their primary source of income. That's not going to go well for you if you get evaluated by the IRS or a government agency. So hopefully, and that's just a very quick overview, right? We could do a deeper dive on that, but hopefully that gives you a glimpse into that scenario around this issue of, can I be paid or can I pay somebody both as an independent contractor and an employee? Depends, right? But there are circumstances where that's a fit. Okay. So I'll leave that there, and I'll be sure to email some folks that had those questions because I post these recordings to my YouTube channel. But let me check in with folks here live on the call. Elaine, Arlene, welcome to Brian, whose name is Positive People here. I love that. Any questions? Hi, Elaine.
Hi there. Just realized I didn't have my video or audio on.
That's all right. Look at your pretty tree.
Thank you. Yeah, I have a question. I'm from Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine that the laws are a little different in Canada than they are in the US. However, with an online business, I'm just wondering, what are the ramifications? What do I need to make sure I'm covered for?
Totally. Did you email me? Did we swap emails?
I think I did.
Did you? Okay, I wasn't sure. Somebody was emailing me last night with a question, which I answered first, and it was just this one that you're talking about.
I didn't. I did maybe a couple weeks ago, perhaps.
Oh, got it. Okay. So it's a great question. And actually, Brian's in Canada. I've helped him with some website protection. So the rules there, you're right that there are some differences. Let's talk about where those differences would lie. Canadian law is provincial, right? So you have laws like us that are province based. We've got state laws here. State laws, and in your instance, provincial laws would apply in where there is some provincial regulation over your industry. So, for example, most of the work that I do here in the States and even around the world is with clients who have international and interstate businesses, right? They're online. It's a federal level. Most of the issues are federal level there. And there is no one size fits all perfect set of documentation that is going to, right, comply with every nation in the world and every state law and provincial law in the world. But, two things. Primarily, you want to look at where you're based. Sorry, I'm listening. Give me 1 second. My son's supposed to be in math, and I don't have my hubby home right now, which I usually do. I'm just going to pause the video. I'll be right back.
So Elaine, which part of Canada are you in?
British Columbia, just about an hour and a half east of Vancouver.
British Columbia, Vancouver. Is that by Toronto?
No, Toronto is on the east side. Ha ha ha. But I can go anywhere in the States and they say, I have a friend in Toronto. Do you know him? Where are you from?
Sorry, I'm from Calgary.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. My little buddy with ADHD has just an awful time trying to stay seated for online school. It's like it's a massive collision of a whole bunch of crazy circumstances. So with that said, the things that you want to primarily look at is, are you in an industry that's regulated, that's going to have local regulations that apply? So for example, if I get a doctor, somebody who is in a licensed profession, they're going to have a regulatory overlay that I can't help them with because I'm not licensed in their province, in their particular state, right? Now, with the federal stuff, yes. So, federal intellectual property stuff, general, contracts and contractual language for their online businesses. Yes, I do a lot of that work. In Canada, the main distinction when it comes to online businesses and the documentation that you need there is you have to specifically call out a privacy officer. So you actually have to identify the privacy officer in your privacy policy and provide contact information for that. So the biggest differences are in, privacy regulation, although they're still very, very similar, right? Because if you're in either Canada or the US and you have a website that's available to people around the world, which most of my clients do, you're subject to the GDPR. You're subject to existing privacy regulations that, impact even the smallest of businesses. And while it's unlikely that a small business is going to be, targeted for an audit, there is the possibility that that can happen. And the reason is we've got more educated consumers. We have people that are aware of their privacy rights. Right? Just like in the United States, all it takes is somebody forwarding your website or an email that you send that is, violates our marketing regulations or our anti-spam laws to end up on the FTC watch list and get an investigation started. Same thing, with the GDPR, there are authorities in the EU that are watching for violations of that law. So it's hard to say, that any huge risk would come out of not paying attention to those laws, but the potential is certainly there. So one example is I had a client reach out, maybe it was definitely within the first month of the GDPR taking effect. They've got a pretty decent list, but they're still definitely considered a small business. And they reached out and said, hey, we got this email, and I read through it and I was like, whoa, it was a pretty aggravated email. And I said, well, when did this come through? Because they just forwarded the text to me. I said, well, about a month ago. And I said, congrats, you were supposed to have dealt with it and done everything you needed to under the GDPR by today, right? So there are certainly laws that apply equally to people in Canada, people in the US, people around the world. The GDPR, which is the primary, privacy regulation, is one of them. There's going to be some distinctions when it comes to contractual clauses in Canada versus the US. So for example, we get away with it more here. Limitations of liability, attempting to limit our liability in business activities generally. Canada's law doesn't favor those attempts as much as U.S. law does, and so in Canada you have to actually have special permission to really attempt to limit your liability. There are some other things like limiting class action lawsuits. There are some men in the U.S. that have made a pattern of suing women-owned, women-based businesses that serve largely women, right, for gender discrimination. And so I put into my contractual clauses for my clients a class action waiver that just says, look, if you've got a beef with our business, you agree to take it up individually, not on behalf of a class. Those class action waivers are upheld in the States about 84% of the time. In Canada, it's a little less. So, and that is probably mostly going to be based on provincial law. So there are some things, it doesn't mean that it's still not worth attempting to limit your liability and attempting to, put in a class action waiver. But, in the US, I would say that when it comes to business, we have a slightly more favorable body of law around certain contractual interpretations, certain contractual clauses. So, those are some of the differences that come to mind. Dispute resolution here, I put a multi-step dispute resolution clause into all of my contracts, which I recommend to people in other countries as well, because, whether you're in Canada or the US, like mediation is always worth trying first. It's less expensive, it's less, time consuming, etc. You guys in general tend to be less litigious than we do down here, right? But interestingly enough, like your spam laws, your anti-spam laws are actually harsher. Your penalties are harsher in Canada than they are here. You guys have a double opt-in requirement up there for email marketing, whereas we just have a single opt-in requirement. Right. So there are some differences. But all in all, the body of the documents that I build for my Canadian clients versus my US clients are largely the same. So I've helped lots of folks in Canada get their online businesses protected.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Does that help?
It does. I'm just starting with this. I'm a coach, and so just starting on this process of it.
Oh, nice.
Well, and so
yeah, well, congratulations. You say that you're a life coach, or what area of coaching?
Yes, relationship, more in relationship.
Yeah. Well, if you're interested, Elaine, I'll share it with you here. It's not a live link from my website, but I did several workshops this year on my website protection package, and it's offered below 50% of the normal price through the workshop. And so I've actually continued to offer that to people as a way for them to get their online businesses protected, especially since COVID started. I made a big push to educate people and help them get support in place. Here's the link, I think that's correct. That will take you to the access page. Again, it's not a forward-facing link. I just share it with people who join these calls and are looking to protect their websites. You can learn what's in my regular website protection package on the main pages of my website. Like if you go to the bundles, I've got 4 bundles that, provide protection in different areas of business. This is the same documentation, just delivered in a different format. So you're getting all of the same tools, you're getting the same training. It's just done like live, which is now a recording. So it's in a workshop format. Like I sat down with people and we just plowed through the work. I walked them through all their documentation. We completed it, right? And went through about 8 or 10 additional topic trainings that online business owners need to know about, things like friendly fraud and merchant accounts and how to protect against certain things online. Talking about testimonials and disclaimers and all of the things that people have to be aware of. So,
because online is worldwide, right? And so
yeah.
It's not just Canada, it's not just the US, it's all over. And so how
totally
you thought of that when I started, right? Like what sort of protection do I need for that? Do I need protection? And if I do, even I've read a lot about this gender stuff too, and how we have to be careful. How are you promoting it? Is it just women or why? Right. And so, to make it a broader spectrum.
Yeah, no, and I talk about that actually in the training. So my tip for people that are offering services that are gender specific is it's a little bit like, so we had a co-working space here, co-working company called The Riveter for a while. Amy Nelson, who is a local founder, created that company, and what does it say? Designed by women, built for all. Something like this, but it definitely lets you know that it's tailored, and I'd have to go look up their phrase. Unfortunately, because of COVID, I think they've ended up shutting their doors, but it was a brilliant tagline because it let you know like it was thoughtfully created, including for women, but it's built for all. Anybody's welcome. That's the approach that I recommend people take in their businesses. And if you're in an area like it, especially if you have, so businesses with the greatest amount of risk have some element of public accommodation. And what that means is like there's some public aspect, like location-based aspect to their business. At least in the States, those have been the businesses that have gotten in trouble and have been targeted as they offer live workshops and they have, different meetups and stuff associated with their work in their business. Now, and I'm curious because I think that if we're not already there, and I'm going to do a quick Google real quick. Because I think that we will see the law shift when it comes to online websites also being places of public accommodation. Yeah, so courts within the First, Second, and Seventh Circuit Courts of Appeal have found that a website can be a place, and this was from 2019, of public accommodation independent of any connection to a physical space, right? So this has muddied the waters a little bit for ADA compliance, but also this issue of like, oh, well, I just run an online business and it's only tailored to women, not men. Like you have to be very careful because California, New York, they have very proactive gender discrimination laws, right? And so they're ahead of the curve on protecting men, including men, from gender discrimination. And so what I have told people that I coach and clients that I work with is if you are offering a women-based service or coaching program and a man wants to sign up, you can certainly let him know like the content, some of the discussion points are really going to be tailored to women, but you are totally welcome to join us, right? Because you don't want to be in that place of having, a gender discrimination claim thrown your way. And, there is lots of content. I mean, I went through Tara Moore's Playing Big Leadership and her program, and it's phenomenal. Read her book and then worked with her. She was one of my clients, but her content is really largely tailored to women. Playing Big, if you've read that book, which is a brilliant book, every woman should read it, is really about how women deal with fear, with up-leveling, their professional lives, with really going after lofty goals, right? Just, biologically, there are some differences. There are some things, and certainly culturally and sociologically, there are huge differences in the way that women and men tend to approach that. But she has a really, really beautiful way of teaching that, and it's largely tailored to women, right? But just like I tell anybody, if a man wants to enroll, let them, right? Let them know that the content might be mostly tailored to women, but certainly do not close the doors on anybody because it's so important that we not do that these days. And truthfully, her content in my opinion, could serve anybody, right? Who am I to say that it is not helpful for men around the same topics? And so I think we all have to really think of our work that way, especially if we come with a preconceived notion that it's really just going to be a fit for women, right? Obviously, there are certain things. Like I have a client on the East Coast who is an OBGYN, and she is starting an online business that is all about educating around women's health. There are going to be certain things that are clearly not a fit for men, but people will self-select, right? People will self-select. So hopefully that helps, but you're welcome to check out the workshop offering that's good through the end of the year. Provides really a lot of savings on my standard website protection package bundle. And then reach out if you've got any questions.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Marie, welcome. Arlene and Brian still here with us. Anybody else have questions that I can support you with? Yeah.
When I came on, this is Arlene.
Hi, Arlene.
When I came on, you were talking something about California, but I did some research and I knew there was a reason why I hadn't progressed with my therapy website. My therapy, can't think what the word is.
No, that's all right.
Setting up the protections for it.
Oh, your website documentation for your therapy practice?
Just my therapy practice, incorporating it.
Oh, got it.
Remember, there was something in the regs that was holding me back. Well, I don't know what it was originally, but now there's something in there that says it has to be a professional corporation.
Yep.
And that it can't be an LLC.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be an S or a C. And with the S is okay, but it still has to say that it's a professional corporation.
Yeah, so there are a lot of state requirements like that if you're a licensed professional. The same is true here in Washington. So as an attorney, my legal practice is a PLLC, professional limited liability company, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's a professional services corporation, depends on the state. So yes, there are often requirements for licensed professionals, and that's so that consumers are not mistaken. They realize that professional title is built into the name of the company, so they understand they're dealing with a dentist or a doctor or an attorney or somebody who's in a licensed profession. Arlene, where are you based? Because if you want a referral to a local, I'm obviously not licensed to practice law in California. I'm based in Seattle. But if you want a referral to Business California, I'm happy to provide you one.
That would be great.
Okay. If you want to email me, just drop an email at Heather, and I'll just type it into the chat. Heather at legalwebsitewarrior.com. Info is my old email. And just remind me, say, hey, this is Arlene. Please send some business attorney referrals. I'd be happy to do that for you.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions? Brian, I know you raised your hand.
I have just going back, I was taking notes on the first answer to the question when I first came on about the templates.
Mm-hmm.
I missed the language on the third one you mentioned.
Well, that's all right.
After privacy, before disclaimers.
Yep, absolutely. So you've got terms of purchase for anything that you sell, right? So website terms and conditions are the ground rules for anything that's public facing, right? So somebody shows up to your website, but they don't buy anything, right? They're just a general website visitor or member of the public. You've probably still got lots of content. If you're like a lot of people that I serve, you've got articles or information or maybe some video tutorials or whatever else. Your general, website terms and conditions are your ground rules. They protect your intellectual property. They have limitations of liability in them. They've got certain disclaimers. It's a lot of key language that has to be covered there. Your privacy policy then, and basically if you think of the three functions that happen in the online world, right? We are publishing information. So that's what we protect against. We protect with the website terms and conditions. We're collecting information. That's what we protect with the privacy policy, right? And that's what is regulated around the world, which is why privacy policies are required by law. So we collect information, we sell information or sell services based around information. That's terms of purchase for whatever we're selling. And then there may be some additional add-ons, right? So the disclaimers we talked about, if you're in a unique niche, health is a big one, saving, like earnings, financial world is a big one. If you are, doing certain things with testimonials or affiliate programs, right? There's other laws that apply that are related to truth in advertising. And again, you have to have certain disclosures in place. But then finally, if you've got your own affiliate program, right, and you have affiliates sharing your business information, you're basically expanding your capabilities in the marketing department, which brings risk in the door. So you need an affiliate program agreement in place for that. So those were the basics that I touched on. Did that help, Brian?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. All right, any other questions? Welcome, Marie. Good to see you. And I think you're muted. You're welcome to unmute if you've got any questions or if I can help you with anything.
Actually, I had just been introduced to you by somebody else that was a referral, and
nice.
I was logging in to see how you normally handle these Zoom calls. And then also, do you use Facebook Live or you prefer the Zoom calls?
I do Zoom. I'm not interested in, one, I want it exclusive to the folks who are on my list, right? I want them to have first dibs. And I'm also not interested in Zoom bombings. Facebook Live is fine, but I find that I prefer much more being able to see people's face and actually have a conversation, right? So Facebook Live is not that. And I'm much more interested in a conversation than I am like a platform where I can just talk at people, right? So I prefer Zoom, but I don't post this information online anywhere because I don't want crazy people in here. The Zoom bombings, when I saw those initial news, I was like, oh, no.
That would be fun for an attorney to deal with.
Right? Yeah. No, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Good to have you today. Marie, what's your business and where are you based?
I actually live in Reno, Nevada.
Mm.
But I'm an online educator around the topic of accounting and accounting consulting.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, helping business owners keep what they earn.
It's very important.
Nobody takes that away from them.
Right. Oh,
I really liked what I saw on your website, so I'll probably refer some of my clients to you.
oh, great. Well, thank you. We'll reach out anytime. Next year, my Ask Me Anything Live, I've done them weekly this year.
Mm-hmm.
Next year, I'm shifting my model a little bit. I'm going to have one for my list that's probably once a month so that, people can plan for it, schedule it. I know weekly is, my goal this year was just wanting to help people get online. COVID has been so hard on small businesses. And so my goal was just to show up, give people a way to really easily get questions answered, get pointed in the right direction quickly. So I think I've accomplished that. And I have a ton of videos now that have a gazillion questions. I'm working on having my team chop those up so that I actually have a database of Q&As that will be accessible. And but next year it'll move to a monthly model. And then I'll also have a membership option for people that need more ongoing support.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Great to see you, though. Yeah, Brian.
This year being over, are you already out of, like, when you say this year and next year, it's like we're at next year already, aren't we?
I know. Well, mentally, I want to be, but no, technically, we're still in 2020, right? I'm going to sage the heck out of it when we're actually done with it. 2021, though, starting in January, I'll be moving to a once a month live call for my list. And then for people that are paying clients, they'll get more consistent access.
So I have a couple of other questions that relate back to taking the workshop the year before.
Yeah, totally.
If you don't mind, I'll just send those to you on an email and
Totally.
more specific to me.
Okay, that's fine. I'd be happy to help you with that.
Okay, so I'm going to say goodbye to the rest of you.
Awesome. All right. Good to see you, Brian.
Elaine and Marie and Elaine from Canada.
Awesome.
Good day, all of you. Bye-bye.
Yes. Happy holidays.
Thank you. You too. Yes.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, ladies, any other questions? Anything else I can help you with? No, you're good.
Actually, can we be best friends within 5 minutes?
Tell me how that works.
The Zoom calls with
Yeah.
my work and doing the consulting with clients, it's often around numbers and their money and finances. And I have found that they really are not interested in a Zoom call with other people.
Yeah.
So I was half curious how your group or how your people, were they really willing to say, oh my God, I just got sued and this is the help that I need? Or were they more general conversations and you really didn't get those one-on-one, the root of, because I can't actually help you unless you share confidentiality with me. And that Zoom doesn't seem to be the place for that.
Yeah, totally depends on the topic. I see exactly how that would be a tough thing for your clients. So the way that I use Zoom is really for general education, right? General informational type of discussions, because truthfully, a lot of at least the preliminary questions that people have are the same. There's a lot of stuff that I cover around, basic business formation and liability and contracts and online business. Sometimes we get into dispute resolution stuff, but mostly that comes up in the context of a one-on-one discussion or consultation. But the topics that I cover here, you would see if you spent the time going through all my videos throughout the year, there's a lot of repetition in the questions that get asked. So that's partly why moving to a monthly model next year. And also now I have this wonderful database of, questions that I can chop up into Q&As and post them where people can just go right to the question that they want and there's already an answer for it, right? So yeah, I would say definitely use it for your, what I would call top of funnel, people that are exploring like, oh, I have this issue, where do I start, right? Because you can use those calls very educationally, like, here's your problem, here's why you don't know it's a problem, here's what you need to know about the marketplace, right? You can really act as like a concierge on those calls and provide a lot of valuable education that people have a hard time hunting down on their own. Right. And then when they get farther into their own scenario or specific questions that apply to them, especially if it's something tricky, right, it might turn more into a one-on-one consultation type. Yeah.
Thank you for your willingness to share.
Totally.
My curiosity is like, because so much of everything I've always done is one-on-one.
Right.
Face-to-face. Right.
Yeah,
so I've gotten pretty
absolutely.
good at Zoom, but it's always been, the privacy setting. So it's interesting to see how others are using the tools.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it was really a big experiment for me. I didn't know how it was going to go. And, yeah, some weeks there's 4 or 5 like this. Other weeks I've had 9 or 10 and they keep me on for an hour and a half, with all kinds of questions. So it can really vary. And I just figure if I do it consistently, people will remember. If they miss this week, they'll have a chance next week, right? So I've tried to really do that this year. And it's been a fun experiment. And it's, I think it's been able to help quite a few people. So I'm happy that I've done it.
Well, and again, it was effective because somebody certainly referred you.
Oh, awesome. Do you remember who gave the referral? I always like to ask. Can't remember.
At 2 a.m, and I'll text you and let you know. How's that?
Perfect.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Good to connect with you, Marie. All right, Arlene and Elaine, anything else that I can help with?
I had a question, and it's just about being a life coach. And some Canadians charge in American dollars and some in dollars.
I'd say, where do you think the bulk of your audience is going to be?
Well, it depends where I target. Right now, a lot of people are in Canada.
Yeah.
But if we go, on the web and with Facebook, everything, I've got people around the world that I know, right? And so would you do a common currency, more common is the US, and have have a US bank account? And if I had a US bank account with US payment, would that be an income in US dollars then?
Yes, I think the answer is yes. If you had a US bank account, you'd probably have to set up a business based in the US. I'm trying to think how some of my other clients have done it, because I have several clients that have pretty going businesses that are based in Canada, and they also charge in US dollars. And it's because about 80% of their clients and their list is US based. So it could be something that evolves as your business evolves. So you might start charging in Canadian because it's easier. You've got a business set up there. It's so easy to set up the business bank accounts, etc. And then at some point when you're doing enough business and it makes sense to maybe take on some additional expenses, you certainly could set up a business and a bank account in the US and basically have, a separate holding account for some of those earnings in the US. And if you leave them there, because I think it's once they transfer from a US bank account to a Canadian bank account that you have to pay Canadian taxes, right? So you don't want the double taxation. But if you use your US business and you can pay a lot of your expenses out of that business, like you literally kind of use it like a second bank account where you can hold funds, you'll just want to observe over time what you find is going to be the best fit for your business.
Because just thinking of all these things that you've talked about, like liabilities and things, I thought, there are many liabilities that I have been unaware of, right? Okay, it's not just as simple as doing a website. And
No, this is why I joke that the online world of business is the Wild West of business. Like, right? People can throw up a website overnight practically. I mean, I've seen people build a website in 30 minutes and suddenly they're, in business, but they have no idea the rules of the road, and that legally, I tell people, just like you're driving down the road and you're presumed to know the speed limit, like whether you're in a 65-mile-an-hour zone or whatever, same is true of the legal rules that apply in business. You're presumed to know the laws that apply to your business. Most people don't, especially in the online space.
because I've been part of Business Connect now and different things. And we have our own siding company. And I've been in camp ministry for 20 years where we run kids camp and conference centers. And so we've done all kinds of things like that. But now especially with COVID, getting totally online. So now I'm realizing that there's more. I've always had liability insurance, whether from a business or a ministry, but not understanding that as an online business.
Yeah. Totally. And one thing that if you haven't been through it yet, I've got a free resource, and this will help you understand what applies to online businesses as well, because that's primarily who I work with. If you go to legalwebsitewarrior.com/legal basics bootcamp, and I'm just going to post the link here. That's a free training. That's just a little mini video series, but it's a framework that I developed to help people understand how to think about business protections and legal protections for their business. And so you'll find if you go through that, probably it will call on a lot of your business experience that you already have, but it will walk you through how I think about setting up and protecting a business. And it's going to be the same in Canada as it is in the US, the areas that you look at for protection. The only thing is that your corporate, your corporate entity might be a little different. I know that in Canada, you guys don't have an LLC model like we have here, which is really popular for a lot of the people that I serve. So the corporate entity itself might be different, right? But the buckets, the framework is the same.
Right.
Yeah.
I know my daughter does work for me too, and she has an LLC. She's lived in California for 10 years. And so
yeah.
Quite familiar. She's helping me with my website.
Oh, nice.
Which is awesome, but it just, now all these other little things are coming up, and I think, oh, okay. I go, public and big. I need to know what I'm looking up again.
Yeah.
This whole gender thing, I've done some research on that too, and how important it is. I mean, it used to be that you can gear towards women, but now not necessarily just towards women, right?
I think you can still gear it towards women, but if you've got a man or, an other gendered person who wants to join, that's where my advice to people is you let them join, you let them know what the content's about, but also that they're welcome.
And I was part of a makeover challenge for women, overweight women. as a leader, and we had a transgender apply. She was so excited she was accepted.
Yes.
It was interesting spending 3 months then reading her posts and how she's trying so hard to fit into this women's world. And some things are just difficult. And so it was really a good education for me because we face those things all the time.
Yeah.
You realize here she had the operation and is totally there, but is really struggling, realizing she still is male, but now female, right?
Yeah. No, I can't even imagine the complexity and, difficulty of that journey. And think of it, there's so many parents now that are speaking out because they recognize in their very, very young children that, they had what they thought is a boy child who feels like a girl or vice versa. And, and I just think it's so important that we be very, very sensitive to that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's, kudos to you for taking a look at, some of the needs of your business before you get started, because one of the things I tell people, and, obviously I'm an attorney, so I'm going to fall more on the side of like, do it right, do it the right way so that you stay out of trouble, because I see what happens when people get into trouble. But, is I really say, is this a hobby business? Or is this really something you're committed to developing and growing? If the commitment is there, do it the right way. Some people just want to test the waters a little bit, and that's fine. But my other question is, do you have assets that need protecting? Like, don't be messing around and testing the waters if you've got a home and bank accounts and savings. And if you have assets in your life, it's a different conversation than somebody who's judgment proof and they just want, they're in their 20s and they want to test out, can they make a go of this, right?
Exactly.
It's very different. Like, I may not, if they don't have the budget for it, I may not tell them to go do the full business setup yet. Like, I might say, create some fast cash, like create some earnings, and then take those initial earnings and invest them back into your business. Right?
So much push now with COVID to just do it.
I know. Well, and I definitely can help people stair step that stuff, right? So I can help people come up with order of priority and what they should do first. And, there are ways to sort that out so that you don't feel like you're chewing the whole elephant all at once, right? So it doesn't have to be super intimidating, but you do have to have the map. What I like to give people is the map so they know where they should be looking, and then they can decide, very proactively what they want to start with based on their priorities.
Okay. Well, thank you for your help, Heather. I really have gained a lot out of this.
Oh, I'm so glad. Well, great to connect with you, and you as well, Arlene. I'm going to sign off and go check on my kiddos who've been doing who knows what for the last hour. Right?
Thank you.
I know.
Take care.
Yes, take care. Thank you. Bye, ladies.